This morning, 1 out of every 6 Americans is waking up unsure of where their next meal is going to come from. And as the pandemic rolls on, that number is rising. Food banks have seen demand soar, with lines stretching for miles in some places as Americans nationwide are struggling to eat. 40% of those people experiencing food insecurity are doing so for the first time. And New York City is no exception. The number of people going hungry there jumped to more than 1.5 million this year, including about a quarter of the city's children. MSNBC is proud to return as the signature media partner of Giving Tuesday. And throughout the day, we're highlighting charities that help those who need it most. So I want to bring in Robin Hood Foundation CEO Wes Moore. He runs the largest poverty-fighting organization in the Big Apple. Wes, it's always good to see you, but I think in particular now, because we know so many people are hurting because of the pandemic, because so many people have lost their jobs. And I think sometimes we have a misperception about where poverty is and who it hits. Give us a sense of what you're seeing this year that's different than what we've seen before.
Yeah, I think that some of the things that we have seen is that not only has COVID-19 had a significant hit on New York City and also around the country, but also what it has done is really exposed the type of disparities that we saw even prior to COVID-19. The fact that even prior to the virus being here, we still had a situation where half of New York City lived in poverty for at least a year over the past 4 years, literally half of the city. When we're considering the fact that now, post-COVID, 75% of the city's low-wage workers who are called to stay on the front line for the COVID-19 pandemic are people of color. And it's had a disproportionate impact both on the health and on the economics of people of color. And so I think when people are talking about, what does poverty look like and who is in poverty, it's important to understand that who we're really talking about in many cases, it's a level of poverty that is impacting the working poor. 23% of people who have lost their jobs due to COVID-19 are people who are working, lost their jobs, people living in poverty before COVID-19. And so this is about understanding how close poverty is to all of us and the fact that we all have a responsibility and the ability to do something about it.
So tell us what we can do about it. Those of us who are fortunate enough to still have a job, to still have a paycheck coming in. Your foundation, for example, is hosting an event to celebrate the heroes of New York tonight. Tell us about that and about what people who are concerned can do.
Yeah, so we're incredibly proud of the fact that that tonight on multiple networks we're going to air something that's going to be called Heroes of New York, or Robin Hood Special. And in many ways, what it is a televised adaptation of Robin Hood's annual Heroes Breakfast, which really celebrates the impact of community partners, community members, and people who have just really served as a great deal of inspiration for us. And so it's actually going to be executive produced by a longtime board member of ours, John Sykes, and will include luminaries, New York luminaries, Jon Stewart, Kelly Ripa, Ice-T, John McEnroe, but also really a real celebration of those who every day are getting up and doing the work. And when we talk about, things that people can do, we have been incredibly fortunate that we've had people who've given donations to our organization. We've raised over $60 million in our relief fund alone, which has gone towards food and shelter and cash assistance, mental and physical health services. But the other thing I think it's important for people to understand now is, while it's important for us to be generous on Giving Tuesday and also every other day afterwards, is that we need to resist the idea that good deeds alone are going to be sufficient to lead us out of this darkness. And that we have to create better systems that don't leave us consistently with such a deep sense of philanthropic reliance. We have to understand this is a moment for all of us to be giving, but that every system needs to be better.
Wes Moore, what perfect sentiment to leave us on, and something to aspire to as we head into a new year. It's always great to see you. Thank you so much for coming on the program, but thank you for what you do all year long, and to all the folks who work with you will be watching tonight. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Bless you. Thank you.
And to learn more about this organization and others that are meeting the needs of our communities during the COVID-19 pandemic, you can visit NBCnews.com/Giving Tuesday.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.